What is up, guys? This is David from Bronx Banter. And on this channel, we've been discussing so many players, so many moves, so many things that the Yankees should do, shouldn't do in the offseason. And an additional move that is in contention in the realm of reality for the Yankees to make is to make a trade with the St. Louis Cardinals for the one, the only Brendan Donovan. Now, for some of you, I feel like most of you know who Brendan Donovan is, but for some of you that don't know who Brendan Donovan is, he was a 2022 Rookie of the Year finalist for the National League, coming in at third place. He is only in his second year back in the 2023 season and posted a 284 batting average and a whole bunch of other stats that are really, really appealing. We'll get into that a little bit later. But overall, he is a player that has built up a lot of steam, a lot of momentum in terms of a possible trade that the Yankees could go after because of his player profile. He's young, he's athletic, he's a lefty, and not just a lefty, but he's a lefty with a great bat. He's a lefty with great plate discipline, great eye at the plate, has a great on-base percentage, and a great batting average to partner with that as well. If you actually look at these stats, he has a very short 2-year. He's only played in just over 200 games in both of those years combined. Last year, he posted a 1.9 WAR. That's also because he played less than 100 games last year. He had 11 home runs, a 284 batting average with 34 home runs, 5 stolen bases. But one of the most impressive things is his 365 on base percentage, his very respectable 422 slugging with an OPS of 787 and an OPS plus of 115. Again, this is a player that is only his second year into the majors, and he's already posting a well above league average OPS plus. OPS even is really, really strong. You usually see, I think the career average in 2023 was around 720. He's at 787. He has a very, very, very respectable on-base percentage at 365. This is something that the Yankees love. They love guys that have great eye at the plate, great discipline, and he is not just that, but he's a young player that has a great eye. This is something that honestly doesn't come too often. Usually those players that are young and do have a great eye are usually players that blossom to be star players. Look at Juan Soto. I anticipate Jason Dominguez to be the same way because he has a great eye at the plate. So there's a bunch of players that fit this mold that end up flourishing to be a very, very successful and prominent major leaguer. And I don't think Brendan Donovan is excluded from that as well. And even reflecting on some of his career stats, he's in just 2 seasons, again, I'm not going to lie, they're not full seasons, but in 2 seasons, in just over 200 games, he has a career WAR of 6.1. Very respectable, again. And 16 home runs, a career 283 batting average. And then again, some of the more important stats to look at is his on-base percentage at 381. So even his rookie year, he had a better on-base percentage than even his last season. And then you see his OPS at 779 career and then 120 OPS plus. Even better, again, than last year. So has so much promise, not even just so much promise, and so much potential. He's already showing that. But to think that he's, I think, 26 years old and is already showing in his second year into the bigs and is showing this type of production, I truly believe he's only going to get better. And again, something I want to highlight is his on-base percentage at 381, meaning he's getting on base roughly 40% of the time in his young career. Another guy that's kind of close to that, obviously over 40% in his career, is Juan Soto. Now, I don't want this to get misconstrued, and I don't want people to think that Brendan Donovan is the next Juan Soto. I'm not saying that, but I'm saying these are player profiles that, one, the Yankees love with high on-base percentage, and 2, that are very valuable, very, very good players. And they're not just players that have a high on-base and a low average. Brendan Donovan's sitting at a 283 career batting average. And then another thing I kind of want to recognize here is I know the home runs aren't wowing really anyone, but if you chop it up in this way, it is pretty intriguing. In less games and in less plate appearances, in 2023, he got more than twice as many home runs this last season compared to his rookie season. So that means that he's, again, starting to grow into his own. Not only that, but he's starting to show some power and maintaining that great on-base percentage and that great batting average. So again, as it is with all rookies, the power's still developing. So I wonder what he can then produce in that short right field porch. And Brendan Donovan, if obviously you don't know my take, I love the concept of bringing Brendan Donovan. A handful of you guys, a part of the community, have brought up Brendan Donovan to my attention. So shout out to you guys. I'll be honest, I wasn't on the Donovan train at first. I'm hopping on now. So I'm absolutely rooting for Brendan Donovan. Shout out to you guys that put me on to him. Another thing, many things to bring up about that Brendan Donovan, but another thing that's huge, and it's more towards the Yankees side than it is Brendan Donovan, is that he solves a huge problem that the Yankees had last season. And now some of you off the top of your head are thinking, of course, better batting average, better on base, younger, lefty. Yes, so those are all true. But another huge thing that I feel like was overlooked was the depth that the Yankees have. So not saying that it's acceptable to go through as many injuries as the Yankees had over the years, but what made the Yankees so sustainable through those injuries was with that next man up motto, mentality, concept. This didn't work last year because all of our next men up were guys that were journeymen that does not have a high ceiling, that we were just trying to strike a lightning in a bottle, or they were rookies that weren't even intended to be called up. And, you know, they did their duty, their job, as in Johnny Brito, Randy Vasquez, and a few other guys. But a well-run organization shouldn't have to feel forced to bring up some of these young players. And will it happen? It will happen, but that should not be the standard that we're at. And Brendan Donovan really helps with that, not just depth, but that good depth. The thing that the Yankees tried to do last year, they tried to fill the team with depth, but that depth were not players that sufficely covered the productivity of some of the players that we missed last year. Brendan Donovan, though he obviously won't fill in for Aaron Judge, as in really no one will, in terms of a productivity side, he will be a more than a sufficient bat to fill in, whether it's for Aaron Judge, whether it's for Giancarlo Stanton, whether it's for our left field position that Everson Pereira, I feel like, is not going to work out there. So he will fill in there nicely, whether it's Jason Dominguez, waiting for him to get back, or even over at third base to give DJ some rest, second base to give Glaber a day off, whatever it is, Brendan Donovan will provide good depth, and such good depth that I don't even know if on the Yankees roster he'll be considered depth, because he'll be automatically, last year he had our best batting average compared to anyone else on our roster. Now, granted, it was only 90-something games. He did have a little elbow issue, which may raise some red flags, but he's expected to bounce back perfectly fine, and it shouldn't be a lingering issue. There is a tiny risk there. If you have to nitpick anything, it would be that. But beyond that elbow injury, there's no other sign of injury from him. Again, a short career, so we will have to see. But overall, he fills in nicely for what the Yankees need. He'll be an everyday player that could fill in almost most or any position in the infield and outfield, while also providing great at-bats from the left side, which is something that we've needed all year last year. I anticipate Brendan Donovan to play the same role as IKF. And I'm not saying he's going to be as productive or lack thereof. We love IKF, but he's not going to wow you in terms of saving the team. Neither do I think Brendan Donovan is, but I do think he has a higher ceiling than IKF. But overall, I think he's going to play the role that the Yankees thought IKF was going to be, where he was going to bat 280, 290. Who knows? Brendan Donovan, I think, has the potential to hit even 300. Again, he's only 2 years in. He's going to have more pop than IKF. He's going to fill into positions just as nicely as IKF. Maybe not as Gold Glove of a third baseman as IKF, but still, he's going to be a great asset to the team. He's not the move the Yankees need to make. He's a move. And what I mean by that is I don't want the Yankees to go out and get Brendan Donovan and say that we're good and wash our hands. He's not going to be that blockbuster star player move, at least from the initial acquisition of him. Do I believe he could become one of those type of players? Absolutely. But I think when we initially pick him up, he's not going to be that type of player for us. He's a move that's going to really help round out the depth of our team and of our roster as good as almost anyone can. And he doesn't only provide all of that I mentioned, but he also is under control until like 2028 or 2029, and he's getting paid, I believe it's the major league minimum. So not that I want to trade away Glaber, but if the Yankees decide to trade away Glaber, you're saving yourself money. Not that money should be an issue with the Yankees. I get it. I hear all you in the comments. But if money is a concern, or at least if this can help free up money to sign players like Juan Soto, Yamamoto, whoever else, I'm not, you know me, I love Glaber, but I like Brendan Donovan so much that I will be willing to cope with the fact that we could trade away Glaber, save some money, and have Brendan Donovan plug in as second or third, along with Oswald Peraza bouncing back and forth with DJ, and paying the major league minimum for just as good production. Now, obviously, not as many games. He hasn't been as on the field as often as Glaber and doesn't have that postseason experience, which are all intangibles that we should consider. These things go beyond the stats. So I still have an ounce of me, and Glaber shows that he could play in New York. I don't know about Brendan Donovan. So those are those little things to consider. But even if we keep Glaber, there's a world that we could keep Glaber and Brendan Donovan, because Brendan Donovan also plays third. He also plays outfield. This is a safe move for the Yankees to make. And it will be a foolish move for the Yankees to not try to go after. The Cardinals need pitching, and we have players that are expendable in the pitching department. Now, I'm not saying get rid of every starting pitcher. We still need some good depth, but we could afford to get rid of Schmidt, Brito, Randy Vasquez. I'm not saying all of them, but you could get rid of some of those pitchers if it means we could get such a good, strong player as Brendan Donovan that has such great promise, such great eye at the plate, lefty bat, and is under control and getting paid the league minimum. And we have him under control until 2028 or 2029. This is something that I think the Yankees have to do. So curious to know what you guys think in the comments. I'm on board. I'm on the Brendan Donovan train, but it cannot be the only move that the Yankees make this offseason. Let me know what you guys think. Hey, what is up, guys? If you liked this episode, please make sure to like it, comment down below, and subscribe, and watch what YouTube suggests would be a great video for you. You're not going to want to miss all the latest Yankees news and topics going on. Listen, Judge wants you to subscribe. The Martian wants you to subscribe, so make sure you do. And until next time, peace and be blessed.